9 minutes past 7. Welcome back to Sabahul Muslim on Radio Islam International. So, Liz Truss has fallen on her sword, as one headline suggests. Different people interpret this in different ways. There's a lot of jokes and memes and that kind of thing. But, it's a serious matter. If you speak to the people in the UK, and I was there recently, this is no joke. It's had serious economic repercussions. Her decisions in the last month or so, the economic decisions, which she has reversed or tried to reverse, but I don't think you can reverse all of the damage. These markets work in a very different way. We may not agree with how it works. Some may say how it's even manipulated, but it is what it is. She tried very hard. They couldn't remove her formally, so they had to put pressure on her to resign herself, because I think there's no motion of no confidence, or there can be no leadership debate for at least 12 months. And it's an understandable clause, because otherwise you'd be having changes all the time. So they refused to cooperate. They put pressure. One of her ministers resigned. And at the end of the day, I think she realized that there's just no point in trying to move forward. On a personal level, you would feel for her, to go down in history as the shortest serving prime minister, just 40 odd days, to have made it to the highest office, only to fall on your face in this particular way. It's something, I suppose, that she will struggle with for a very long time personally. How do you come back from this? Although in the UK it's very different. You see Boris Johnson, he's still there as an MP. You see, what was his predecessor, Theresa May, she's still there as an MP. So she could perhaps still continue, I would assume, as an MP, even though she's a former prime minister. Your career doesn't come totally to an end. But who knows? Politics is such a strange thing. I mean, most of the MPs turned against Boris Johnson. Now there's talk that he should come back, although that's not very likely. Rishi Sunak once again seems to be the forerunner. Whether he'll prevail or not remains to be seen. He was the most popular amongst the MPs the last time around, but when they went to the members for a vote, then Liz Truss beat him. Many say it was a racial issue. The members didn't want to see a non-white be a prime minister of the United Kingdom. This time around, I think they're trying to avoid going to the members, because it's a long, drawn-out process. They want to try and have a new prime minister by Monday, or at least by the end of the week next week. They're trying to find one candidate upon whom everyone would agree, so that the MPs themselves could then vote that person into power, basically vote that person to be the leader of the Conservative Party, and then they then become the prime minister without having to go to the members. That's my understanding of it. I was reading up about it a little yesterday. Now, there's a few things that we can take from here, right? The one is this, that you could say, oh, okay, at least there in the UK, when a prime minister messes up, then they've got to go. But then again, and in other countries, like, here we would say, look, there's all this load shedding and everything, but we've got to wait right till the next election. It's not about the citizens that pushed for the prime minister to go. It's the members of the party. So that much you got to give them, that they saw that there's huge repercussions to what was happening, and they pushed for the prime minister to go. We saw with Zuma for how long the ANC held on. It was only until they had their own internal conference and another faction came into power that they pushed him out the door. Same thing with Ramaphosa. You can bring motion of no confidence after motion of no confidence in parliament. The ANC will use its majority to block it. Very rarely in this country, I mean, unless there's a change within the party leadership, do they put pressure on the the president to go. That said, though, it also shows that first world and developed countries have political instability. This is very unstable to have had so many different prime ministers in such a short period of time, so many different ministers in various portfolios. Remember when Rishi Sunak stepped down towards the end of Boris Johnson's tenure, then there was a couple of others that came. Then now she had to fire, before she stepped down, this Truss, her own finance minister. They call it, they have a different title there. I think it's Minister for the Exchequer or something like that. And now he was then succeeded by Jeremy Hunt. So so many different ministers and so much political movement, not good for the country. The elections is only due in 2 years' time. So right now, if elections were to be held, the Tories, the Conservatives would lose, and Labour would come in with a landslide, with a massive victory. So they're trying to avoid that, and they're trying to hope that if they get the right person in 2 years, they'd be able to reclaim some lost ground and perhaps avoid a defeat. Or if they can't avoid a defeat, then avoid a massive defeat. So let's see how this plays out. Interesting dynamic to follow. Just gone 14 minutes past 7. Coming up in a bit, our hadith for the morning. It's on the theme of Jumu'ah. Then we will have a discussion about Malaysia going to the polls. They also, snap election was called by the ruling party because they thought they'd be able to get a bigger percentage of the vote and strengthen their hand, their political hand. The opposition reportedly is in disarray. We'll try and get an update from our guest in a short while. After 7:30, words with Maulana Wajah, tafsir of Surah Banu Israel. Today we talk about cheating in weight and measure. It used to happen in a particular way in the old days. It happens in many other ways these days. At 7:45, the Middle East report with James Dorsey. He focuses on the unrest in Iran. After 8, Angelo Frick with this week's Asri report. And Angelo will be focusing on the big story coming out of Parliament. They voted in favor of the electoral amendment, even though there's been a huge outcry against it, as you heard on the news. So we'll focus on that. We conclude our discussion on poverty eradication today by asking the question, is there a solution to poverty? And then towards the end of the program, we speak to Rashida Khan about globalization. She's an expert in economics. So that's what you can look forward to this hour, the second hour of Sabahul Muslim, and the next, inshallah, between now and 9 o'clock. Just gone 16 past 7. Time now for this morning's hadith.
Hadith Discussions on Sabahul Muslim with Maulana Sulaimaan Ravat.
عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا قلت لصاحبك يوم الجمعة أنصت والإمام يخطب فقد لغوت. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if one of you says be quiet to another while the Imam is delivering the sermon on Jumu'ah, you have lost the reward of Jumu'ah. This narration is in Bukhari. This refers to the khutbah. Not that you should be speaking when the English lecture is on, but the khutbah has its special status. Why? Even if somebody is doing something wrong, why shouldn't you rebuke them? Well, the answer that the scholars give is that it's just going to make more noise. That person will then respond to you. There's another hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من تكلم يوم الجمعة والإمام يخطب فهو كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا والذي يقول له أنصت ليس له جمعة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said the example of a person who talks while the Imam delivers the sermon is like a donkey laden with books on his back. The donkey doesn't benefit from the books. And one who tells another to be quiet has voided his Jumu'ah. And then there's a hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. من توضأ فأحسن الوضوء ثم أتى الجمعة فاستمع وأنصت غفر له ما بينه وبين الجمعة وزيادة 3 أيام ومن مس الحصى فقد لغى. Whoever performs ablution properly, then comes for Jumu'ah, listens to the sermon and remains quiet, all his sins between the 2 Jumu'ahs are forgiven, plus 3 additional days. And whosoever touches a pebble has committed a foolish act. So you keep quiet during the khutbah, you get great reward. If you do, silly things like play with pebbles, in those days they were pebbles, you fiddle with your toes, or you play with your beard, or you look at your cell phone while the khutbah is on, then you're voiding your own reward. And if someone else is talking, don't talk to them, to even tell them to keep quiet, because then they're going to retaliate and it's just going to increase the noise and you're going to void your own reward of Jumu'ah. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala grant us the understanding. It's 18 past 7. After the break, we talk about elections in Malaysia.
This is Sabahul Muslim.